Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today's a little odd for me just because I was looking over booktube videos yesterday and it was March the 1st, and so everybody's doing their March to be read books. Well, I don't plan ahead. I just wanted to do a TBR video just because I have a whole bunch of books sitting here that would take me months to read, and I just wanted to point them out. And it just happened to coincide with the usual TBR at the beginning of the month that everybody does that I don't really. Maybe I'll start doing that. I haven't decided yet. I'm just doing this on the fly, really. But to start out, I just finished this, The Sword Defiant by Gareth Hanrahan. This author here did these three books that a lot of people are familiar with, The Gutter Prayer and its two sequels. With these three books, wonderful. Yeah, it was all right. That's my official review, kind of. So I went ahead and got his latest just because he is a really good writer. It's just these plotted out kind of badly in the end, I guess you could say. But other people loved it, but I did not by the time I got done with this. The setup here is that a hero group calling itself the Nine were brought together, and they defeated this evil that had taken over a city. You are seeing their view as they're retired. This is your primary guy here. His name's Alf. He has a longer name, but that he dislikes, and so I can barely pronounce it. Alf. This is the Sword Defiant itself. This was in the hands of the bad guys, was made for the bad guys, got taken from the bad guys, and was used to kill the bad guys. Among the Nine, one of them was killed in this battle. You don't get any flashbacks, you just get them talking about it and thinking about it. Whether or not he goes back and describes this event, I don't know yet. In this case, he is warned that darkness is on its way, and so he grabs the sword and he starts to take action. The sword itself steals all the scenes in the book. It's intelligent, it talks, and the other viewpoint character is his sister, and she goes off on her own adventure, and eventually they do coalesce, and even though hers is secondary, still very important to what's going on here. And what happens is they had put away this ancient evil, this Lord Bone, and he was put in a tomb, and each one of the Nine became part of a key to unlock the tomb to keep him buried safely away. But somebody let him out, and it's one of the Nine, and he's got to figure out who it is and what he's going to do to deal with it. So this has a sequel coming out shortly too, in just the next couple months. I'll be looking forward to that one. This one is next. Titan Hoppers, Rob J. Hayes. The reason I got this was it was suggested on another booktuber's channel, and I saw this here, and I have this thing for floating holograms and magical sigil type designs. So I asked, is this in the book or is it just a cover? And he said it's in the book. So this one's going to be next, jumping ahead of all these other books. I'm not ashamed to say that even though I have a stack of books to read, that new ones will infect me, and I'll just put them to the top, and that will be that. So this one is next. It looks like an actual space fantasy with space fleets and magic along the way, so looking forward to that one. I did not grab it yet. This is the first of a series called The Gray Man. Actually, there's a new book. It's the 13th book. It's in bookstores now, and I'm going to go get that today, and that will probably come right after Titan Hoppers there. I apparently don't pay attention to blurbs. This one says born for the new millennium. I owned this for years and didn't even read that. The reason I got this is because I had watched Day of the Jackal some years ago, and I wanted more of that, an assassin out on his own, and you see things from his side, and the description of this feels like that, but it's not like that. It's this fellow, he was on a mission, and he either messed up or got set up. And so with all his skills as a super black ops operative, he's just on the run, but he takes jobs with the idea that I only could kill the bad people. And so 13 books, there's a lot of books vaguely like these. Some specially trained guy, everybody wants to write their own James Bond type of thing. And I tried a few, and they're just bad and cringy as hell. They're like, look how awesome I've written this super awesome guy. Well, this one doesn't read like this. It's just a kind of, I don't want to say humble, but just a guy got in the wrong situation, he's on the run, and it just plays out really well through all 13 books. Can't recommend The Gray Man enough. There was a movie put out on Netflix, which isn't terrible, but it's like these in name only. Bought this one, The Blighted Stars. This kept coming up everywhere. It's highly recommended. What's her name? Megan O'Keefe. And I think, is it the third book is out right now? So I decided to go and get this one. I suggested it as a buddy read for someone's Discord, and they haven't decided upon it yet. So at some point they'll say yay or nay, and if they say nay, I'll read it sooner. If it's yay, I think it's not going to be for at least a month, though since I don't have as much time to read as many booktubers do, I'll start it sooner so I can stay caught up with all of them. This kept coming up for some damn reason on everybody's booktube channel, Frankenstein Classic. So I decided, why not? And I got into Barnes & Noble and let's see if I can find one. This is an illustrated version, and looks pretty good there, so I'm going to give that a go at some point. Get a classic in my life. This one, The Emperor of Ruin by Django Wexler. This is a third in a book. It's third in a series. The other two, Blood of the Chosen, Ashes of the Sun. The basis for this had to do with Star Wars, where they go get kids to take them away to be trained as Jedi. In a particular story, I don't remember if it was in a novel or a comic book, but someone on the side of evil decides to do the same thing, but frames the Jedi for it as if they kidnapped a child. And so the author said that's basically behind the inspiration to see what responsibility the powers that be will take for their actions. And you have, some very Star Warsy type things in here, light up swords. This is purely a fantasy, but the other side, there was I believe they're called the Yuzang Vong, if that's how you pronounce it, and they were, their power in Star Wars had to do with a lot of genetic engineering, that kind of thing. Maybe like the Borg, but bio rather than cyborgs. And so in this, you have these bio beings that have various ways to change shape and such like that. And they, at the heart of this, though, is a brother and sister. Sisters on one side, brothers on the other side, and they're button heads in this trilogy of books. So this will be the third and final book, if I'm not mistaken. So this is the latest in a superhero series called Wild Cards by George R.R. Martin. It's written by various authors, though. It's not just by him. The very first book, simply called Wild Cards, the setup is that these humanoid aliens who have telepathic powers themselves wanted to improve their powers. So they came up with a virus, but they wanted to test it, and so they threw it at planet Earth. And this one of these aliens comes by to try to stop it, but he fails. And there is a normal person, but a hero of the time, talking post-World War II. He tries to stop it too, and he fails, and this virus gets out. 90% of the people infected with this die in some horrid, mutated, gruesome way. 9% they might get some superpowers. They are referred to as jokers. And they basically get various kinds of deformities. So you might get someone who turns into a centaur, and it's permanent. He's just a centaur now. You get another guy who was actually called Snot Man. He was just covered in constant snot. But you got a guy turning into an alligator, so that's a little more effective, that kind of thing. The 1% that remains gets superpowers, and that's where they begin, and they go forward from there. A lot of the books are hit and miss in quality. The first few are actually pretty good, and they had a resurgence at one point and put out a few good books. And then before this one, I'd read a couple, and they were actually really bad. But this one is a bunch of short stories. Apparently this has been good for Valentine's Day or something. This is about love, various love stories in the superhero world. So we'll give that one a go at some point. Oh, here we go. Generation Ship by Michael Mamey. This is sort of cliche sounding as far as this topic goes. It'll be some large vessel, probably circular or tubular in some way. I haven't jumped into it yet, and they get sent off for another star. Generations pass, make babies, and they grow up in this environment, grow old and die, and then the next generation, until finally at some point they're getting to the next star. There is a dystopia that has formed inside the colony trying to get there. They sent probes ahead to the target planet, and things might not be so good and safe there. And that's the general setup for that. I could not resist that one. Doors of Sleep by Tim Pratt. Tim Pratt. I would have to go back and look through, but that's a good author name to hear, Tim Pratt. Doors of Sleep. So this one, let's see. Someone goes to sleep and they keep waking up in alternate worlds. Some of them are, as it described, utopian, and some of them are, collapsed civilization or whatever. And someone becomes aware of his ability to do this and is chasing him through the world to try to get his power from him. Cory Doctorow, The Lost Cause. Now, the description is a little on the vague side. It has something to do with climate change, but this is a young generation versus an old generation clash of heads. Doctorow, my favorite book that he wrote is called The Rapture of the Nerd, which is a good, even though it's satirical, is actually really good about uploading and potential aliens checking out. It's an outstanding book, so we're going to give that one a shot. Afterworld by Debbie okay, so the reason I picked this up, what happens is humanity creates an artificial intelligence, and they want to solve all the problems of the planet. And what it comes up with is, well, we got to get people off the planet. So they start up an uploading program, getting people to take their minds and put them in some digital container of some sort and living out that world. So this, it sounds like this is being told from the viewpoint of an artificial intelligence. And what it does is it catalogs the life of a person to then take that person and upload them. Well, along the way, as he's cataloging and recording this person's life, he falls in love. If it's a he, I don't know what kind of gender they're going to apply here, but this AI falls in love with someone, a human being in the real world. So I would try that one out. So I've read some Mercedes Lackey, and she's wonderful. These are 3 books I grabbed out of a used bookstore somewhere. Let's go with book 1 of The Last Herald Mage, Magic's Spawn. This one is called The Oathbound. And this one is called Oathbreakers. And this is a book 1 and 2, and this is a book 1, so they weren't a complete set of books. I just grabbed them and always wanted to give them a shot. These have been in my house for like a year, and I just haven't got to that mood where I'm going to grab those and start reading them. But here they are. I'm sure people have got books sitting in their shelves for years, and there's mine right there. A Forest of Vanity and Valor, one of those little funny titles. So this is apparently a series of fantasy books that retell old tales, in this case a bit of Robin Hood, so we're going to see what kind of take happens there. Now, Martha Wells. If you're a Martha Wells fan, it's probably because of a series of novels called Murderbot. And so here she has written a fantasy called Witch King. We'll give that a go. Sitting over here, got a small stack of cyberpunk and possibly post-cyberpunk. This is something I pointed out in a previous video. 1,000 pages of cyberpunk short stories. Yeah. This is 2077, so this is based off the video game or cyberpunk. These are apparently more old books I just grabbed off. Needed to take a look at them. Used bookstore shopping, and sometimes a lot of the used bookstores wind up sitting around for a while as new books come out, and I just have to get the new book. But The Shift and Technogenesis. So these are on basically just take place future Earth. These, though, what are you looking at here? Divas, the Absolute series by Stuart Tanner. 300 years after Golden Earth, random life on Earth. I believe this one, yep, a transhumanist cult. So this is transhumanism, high tech. We'll see what happens there. Cyberpunk Machine Killer. I believe this is a whole series by D.L. Young. The first thrilling installment in the Cyberpunk City saga. So this is probably more just earthly delights there in a world of low life high tech. That's really about it for all that. Today is a day for Dune. That movie, Dune Part 2, comes out today. I'll be going to that after I pick up my Gray Man book. A lot of Dune videos. If you need a recap, they're out there on YouTube to look at. That's about it. I don't think I have much else to say here. Got another shirt to show off. There's Iron Fist from Marvel Comics. Wham bam. Unfortunately, this is actually a piece of cover art from from a series they put out. Unfortunately, the series wasn't very good, but that's a great image I like to have on my body as I go about my day. Nothing but graphic t-shirts. If you ever run into me, I'm probably wearing a piece of artwork on a piece of clothing on my body. Well, that's about it for today. I hope you have a lovely weekend. The weather's going to be nice out in my area of the world. Have a good day and stay safe. Thank you very much.